The case McDonald v. City of Chicago held a correct interpretation of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause because the court was able to set the precedent that the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms for the purpose of self-defense must apply to the states. Here's why.
I had moved into D.C., bought my very first firearm, a Western handgun, buntline with a 9-inch barrel. And 3 months later, D.C. activated gun controls where you must either turn in your gun to the government or destroy it or risk going to jail. My light bulb came on once when I said, they won't let me have a gun to protect me, but they'll give me a gun to protect them. And when that light bulb came on, I realized then that I lived in a two-tiered society, not unlike the Soviet Union.
The case that set the precedent before McDonald v. City of Chicago was District of Columbia v. Heller, which was when the Supreme Court held that the Second Amendment secures for individuals the right to keep and bear arms, including handguns, for the purpose of self-defense. The court did strike down 2 Washington, D.C. gun control laws in effect at the time. One law made that the registration of handguns was illegal. They struck that down. And the other was that lawful firearms kept in the home be disassembled or trigger locked. McDonald and other petitioners raised the question, does the Second Amendment apply to the states because it is incorporated by the 14th Amendment's privileges and immunities or due process clauses and thereby made applicable to the states, which basically means if the land controlled by federal law has the Second Amendment applied, then the states should too. The arguments made for McDonald was that Chicago's restrictive gun laws infringe on the people's rights to own guns. His support was the ruling in the Heller case and the 14th Amendment privileges and immunities applying to the Second Amendment. The arguments made for the City of Chicago were that restrictive gun laws were necessary to uphold public order and safety. Their support was showing statistics that a lack of gun laws would not enforce this. Ultimately, the court ruled in favor of McDonald and the petitioners alongside him. They argued that Chicago's gun laws were a violation of the citizens' Second Amendment rights and that under the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment, the court is allowed to apply the Bill of Rights to state governments as well. This case set the precedent that the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment allowed amendments in the Bill of Rights to be applied to both federal and state governments. While the Heller v. D.C. case settled the Second Amendment argument for the federal government, McDonald v. Chicago settled the argument for the whole country and changed the way we apply the 14th Amendment, as well as the way gun laws are handled in the United States. It is our belief that the ruling of the case was correct and was an accurate interpretation of the Constitution. We also agree with the majority opinion and reasoning behind their decision, supported by the Second and 14th Amendments.
Wow.
A long time ago when I was a child, my mother used to teach me about values. And she would always wind up saying this phrase, Otis, if you don't in life find something that you will give your life for, you really haven't lived.
My pronouns are USA.
My pronouns are USA. How about